Hello there and welcome. Thank you so much for watching with us today. I'm Sam, and in just a second, we're going to be joined by one of our senior financial advisors. His name is Patrick Ray, and Patrick is here today to speak to you about how you can use HSAs or health savings accounts to your advantage in 2025. Before he comes on, though, I'd like to just very quickly remind you that we are not your company here. We are not affiliated nor endorsed by your company. We are a completely independent group of financial advisors, so please keep that in mind as you're listening along. Next, you will find some links popping up above our heads. Those links are going to guide you directly to our website. You can book a free 15 or 30-minute block of time with one of our advisors. You can take advantage of our retirement guide and many other blogs and resources that we have available that we really feel you would get some value out of if you considered using them. You can also follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on LinkedIn. We post a lot of content that we really feel would be very valuable and beneficial to retirees and current employees. So take advantage of those as well. And without further ado, let's jump right into it with Patrick Ray.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Ray. I'm one of the senior advisors here with the Retirement Group and Wealth Enhancement. And today I'm going to give you an introduction to HSAs. We're going to talk about some of the recent changes that are related to HSA accounts. We're going to speak to some utilization of HSA benefits. I'm going to give you an example and some considerations for thoughts and things to think about going forward. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the planning process. And so, what is an HSA account? Well, simply put, HSA stands for Health Savings Account, and it's a type of personal savings account that you can set up to pay for healthcare costs. It allows you to put money away on a tax-free basis if you use the withdrawals related to healthcare expenses. And as long as those are qualified expenses, you pay no tax on the withdrawals. The funds don't expire, which might be the biggest benefit, and instead they roll over on an annual basis. And so there are several tax advantages to these types of plans. And one is you can make contributions through the HSA deduction through your payroll on a pre-tax basis, which in turn reduces your taxable income in the given year you make the deposit. Withdrawals for qualified healthcare expenses are also federally tax-free when using and being paid for qualified medical or healthcare expenses. And then the earnings are federally tax-free from an investment and interest perspective as well. So from a contribution perspective, in 2025, the limits are $4,300 for individuals, $8,550 for families, and then if you happen to be over the age of 55, you're allowed a $1,000 per year catch-up provision. Maybe the best benefit is there is no minimum deposit required, so you can start one of these for as little as $25 a month. And it's literally designed to help you save money to build up a balance so that you're prepared for some future healthcare expenses, which are on the rise. And recently we had heard that there are some very large increases in premiums coming from some very well-known and major healthcare carriers. And so with that, the big, beautiful bill for the HSA changes are relevant because it expanded eligibility for folks who might be watching this very workshop. And so on the bronze and catastrophic ACA plans, they're now automatically considered HSA or high deductible plans, which are eligible for allowing you to participate in an HSA account. And this affects millions of Americans. There's a direct primary care option, which now you can prescribe to direct primary care services like monthly doctor memberships, etc., and still contribute to an HSA. And so for those, there's a limit of up to $150 for individuals and $300 per month for families that can be paid directly for these services from your HSA funds. Also, telehealth services, meaning plans that offer pre-deductible telehealth care, are now permanently HSA compliant, which is also a big benefit to many of you. So for the qualified expenses, they've added some, which is nice because this is a new option, which is fitness costs. And so now gym memberships and exercise programs are now partially reimbursable for up to $500 a year for an individual and up to $1,000 a year for families. Also, there's a 60-day look-back rule, which allows you to create a plan and then look back as far as 60 days from the introduction of that plan that can be used for reimbursement purposes for what otherwise were already deducted medical expenses. Now, this is a big one because spouses that have FSAs are no longer disqualified from participating in this because previously, if you had a spouse that had a general purpose FSA, which is a flexible spending account, that you could not contribute to an HSA. And so that restriction, in fact, has been removed. So, what does this technically mean? Well, that means that more Americans are now open and able to use HSA to help them offset their medical expenses going forward. And this especially applies to those ACA and DPC services that we had talked about that are becoming more and more and more common. Greater flexibility in how HSA funds are spent is a big deal because now this is covering fitness and telehealth things, and they're even retroactive to that 60-day look back period. And now the retirees face future and smaller limitations because once you're enrolled for Medicare, the timing of your HSA contributions before age 65 remain crucial because afterwards, which we'll talk about in a minute, how that may benefit you from a retirement perspective. So let's talk a little bit about utilizing your HSA benefits in your funds. So HSA covered expenses, we'll talk a little bit about uses and flexibility, and then we'll talk some briefly about investment options. So under the HSA covered expenses, you have medical expenses such as copays, deductibles, ongoing medical care, physical exams, x-rays, hospital care, things of this nature. Dental expenses are part of this, so you can do such things as routine dental visits, surgeries, orthodontics. These things also come into play, as well as your vision expenses, so such as prescription eyeglasses, laser or LASIK eye surgery, eye exams, prescription contact lenses, things of this nature. And then you have other expenses which are now covered, which are related to travel and wellness and substance abuse treatments, in fact, as it turns out. So there's some additional uses for and having flexibility which retain and are relevant to you after you turn 65. So one of the things that's advantageous among many for your HSA funds is if you use them for qualified medical expenses, the withdrawals from those funds, even though you put them in on a pre-tax basis, are federally tax-free. Now, the catch is if you further go past 65 and you have money in your HSA plans that you don't need for medical expenses, then what you'll find is that you can actually utilize these withdrawals for offsetting expenses in general from a retirement perspective. And the only catch or the only difference is when you take those out and they're not used for qualified medical expenses, you will pay ordinary income tax on the withdrawals, just as you would from your withdrawals that you make from an IRA or a qualified plan account. So HSAs can be used to offset Medicare premiums, as it turns out. So once you reach age 65 and you become Medicare eligible, you can use your HSA funds to pay Medicare premiums. However, you cannot continue to contribute to the plan after enrolling to Medicare. So that's the only downside. Now, from an investment perspective, the HSA plans give you the potential for investments in things like fixed income investments and U.S. equity-based investments, international funds, target date funds, and other types of investments that happen to be involved in the plan itself, which can increase the ability for you to raise a return in that particular fund, which over time can help you establish even more money that helps you offset these expenditures that you may run into at some point in your life. And just remember, any earnings and withdrawals for medical expenses are, in these particular cases, completely tax-free. So let's talk about some examples and some considerations for you to think through. So we'll talk a little bit about the difference between an HSA and an FSA. And then we'll talk a little bit about an example with someone who has an HSA plan versus someone who does not have an HSA plan. And then we'll talk about some of the eligibility and limitations that are involved in this particular scenario. So first, we'll talk about the HSAs versus FSA. So HSA is health savings account. FSA stands for flexible spending account. And under a HSA plan, the unused funds are technically rolled over. So in other words, there's no requirement for you to spend those monies in a given tax year. If you happen to have a healthy year, which hopefully you do, and you don't have any medical expenses to speak of, then your HSA funds would be allowed to roll over into the next year. Whereas if you have an FSA account, it's a use it or lose it scenario during that given tax year. Under HSAs, your contributions are flexible up to the contribution limit, whereas under the FSA plans, they're elected contributions which are fixed. Under HSAs, you're available for use as a self-employed contractor and the unemployed, whereas under the FSA plans, these are only offered through an employer. Under the HSA plans, your tax-free growth is relevant to the investment side, which are more there's more upside to an HSA-oriented investment account or an investment plan or plan options, as well as where an FSA is there's no investment options available. And so the HSA requires you to have a high deductible plan, and the upside for an FSA is it does not require you to have a high deductible plan for you to be able to participate in an FSA plan. So let's talk about one of these examples. Here we have Alex. Alex has an HSA, and the pre-tax contribution that Alex makes, he makes $3,500 to her HSA plan through her payroll deduction. Now, Alex is in the 25% tax bracket. So what this means is that she is saving $875 in federal tax because of these contributions. The employer contributions in this particular case has a additional $1,000 deposit, giving her a total of $4,500 of monies that she can invest. And so on the investment side, the HSA funds have a selection of mutual funds and other types of investments, which on an average basis per year return 5% on a tax-free basis, again, for qualified medical expenses. And so throughout the year, Alex incurs $2,500 in qualified healthcare expenses, which she pays using her HSA tax-free monies. So her out-of-pocket costs in this particular case, because she has a high deductible healthcare plan, she has a $1,500 deductible, and thanks to her HSA plan, she pays this with pre-tax funds. Now, on an alternative scenario, we have Jordan, who has no HSA plan. And so Jordan pays $3,500 in healthcare expenses from her after-tax account and her after-tax income. In the fact that she has a 25% tax bracket because of her earnings, she needs to earn about $4,667 before taxes to cover the same expenses that Alex does, because Alex is using pre-tax funds in this particular example. So on a tax impact, Jordan pays $1,167 in taxes, while Alex enjoys paying $0 in taxes. Unfortunately for Jordan, there's no investment opportunity, so Jordan also misses out on the potential tax-free investment upside of having the funds invested, as well as in comparison that Alex benefits from the fact that she can invest her monies in some mutual funds that average a higher rate of return than a fixed income account does. So qualified healthcare expenses in this example, where Jordan is paying the same $2,500 in healthcare expenses as Alex does, except it just doesn't come with the upside of the tax benefits that Alex is able to obtain. So Alex with an HSA versus Jordan with no HSA, it looks like this. Alex saves by reducing her taxable income throughout the given year, making pre-tax contributions and earning tax-free interest and earnings on the monies to allow tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. Jordan does not enjoy these same tax benefits. On the investment side, Alex has the ability to invest her HSA funds in growth-related funds to help offset future healthcare costs to allow that money to grow. And Jordan, unfortunately, lacks the opportunity to do this, making it harder for her to save these funds in a given tax year for help offsetting medical expenses. So from a flexibility and portability standpoint, Alex's HSA funds that aren't used in a given tax year are allowed to be rolled over into a future year, whereas a plan under an FSA, on Jordan's case, does not allow this option to happen. So this means that regardless of employment changes, Jordan's healthcare savings are options limited, and they're certainly less flexible than what Alex has to offer or has to be able to offer to her. Now, under the out-of-pocket expenses, you have both Alex and Jordan who face similar out-of-pocket expenses for healthcare, but Alex's use of pre-tax dollars through the HSA makes these costs way more efficient and effective for her. So eligibility, you must be enrolled in an HSA eligible or high deductible healthcare plan to be able to contribute. This helps our high income earners benefit the most because of their taxable earnings. And so in most cases, high income earners are in the 37% tax bracket, which allows you to save 37 cents on every dollar that's contributed to an HSA. And so, in short, what does this mean? Well, we know that statistically 74% of people over the age of 50 do not have a written financial plan. And the reality is, firms like us use this as a way to introduce their services to you because we may be able to help you plan for one of the most important financial decisions that you ever have to run into. So, the retirement group has been around for a very long time with offices all across the country and very intimate knowledge for a lot of the Fortune 100 company healthcare plans and savings plans and pension plans to help you run this complementary cash flow analysis, which we offer to our folks. So if you're open to a visit, please reach out to us at one of a number of ways. You can email us at info@theretirementgroup.com. You can call our 800 number, which is 800-900-5867. Or you can take a picture of this QR code to the left, which would get you access to a calendar where myself or any one of my colleagues would be glad to visit and spend some time with you to answer some specific questions that you may have about your own personal circumstance. And if you're not already following us on LinkedIn, take a picture of this QR code to the right. It would give you access to that. And we have many company-specific pages that you can follow, which would give you great detail on some of the things that we're doing and talking to our folks about. So with that, I hope you have a great day and you hope you got some value out of our workshop.